Hey guys, Erin here. So today's podcast, I've been waiting to interview him for months and the day finally came. So this podcast, I am interviewing one of my favorite teachers, Dinesh. And we talk about yoga therapy, the 5 great koshas. We talk about application of yoga therapy in the body using different techniques. And we talk about how the yogic path for both of us has created this fullness and this wholeness in life. I hope that you enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed conducting it. And Dinesh is going to be one of our teachers when we go to India as part of my yoga teacher training program for the 200 and 300 level that starts in February. Our trip to India is in June. And so if you listen to this podcast and you can really connect with Mr. Dinesh and you would like to come along for the journey, you can reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com. We have 8 spots left to come to India. So I hope that you'll enjoy this and enjoy the podcast. Namaste.
Slowly, modern science is working in this direction to understand more subtle dimensions because mostly the principle that modern science was working for centuries was purely physical. And
Yes.
now they're trying to understand deeper concepts of what is mind, what is consciousness, and how they're constantly interacting with each other, and how this interaction could create disturbances or also could create well-being. So now they're working in this direction, and that is really fortunate and happy. I'm glad.
Yes, me too. Oh.
Yeah. And then coming back to this point, yeah, after Samana, we have fourth prana, which is Udana. It is said that Udana is situated somewhere near the throat region. And this Udana is generally responsible for all the sense organs activity, like the speech, hearing, vision, and skin, and taste and smell. So all these kinds of activities, and also the functioning of brain, they say is responsible, is taken care by the Udana prana, the fourth one, which is situated in the throat. And the fifth prana, the last prana, is Vyana. Vyana is basically expansion. So all the circulatory system in the body, which is basically sending out all the nutrients or blood to different parts of the body, nourishment basically, and then after circulation, you have endocrine system, which is release of hormones, which is from one part of the body and then towards the other parts of the body. This whole communication of hormones, endocrine system, circulatory system, and also the muscle activity, it is said that it is taken care by this fifth prana called as Vyana. So these are the 5 major pranas as described in Upanishads. Now, in addition to this 5 major pranas, we also have 5 minor pranas. In Sanskrit, we call them as upapranas. Upaprana, upa is minor or subprana, subprana. So these subpranas are 5 in number. The first prana, the first subprana or the minor prana is called Naga prana. This Naga prana is responsible for belching and hiccups. So usually it remains inactive when your entire metabolic activity or digestion activity is completely fine. Usually this naga remains inactive. And whenever there is some disturbance, this naga prana will get immediately active. So next is Kurma prana, the second minor prana. And this Kurma prana is related to blinking of the eyes. Blinking of the eyes is one of the very important procedure to keep the eyes moisture and to keep the moisture in the eyes and also keep them healthy. So kurma is basically related to your blinking of the eyes and protection of the eyes. And also this prana is helpful for you during practices like trataka, which is the gazing at the candle or the lamp for a long period of time. This kurma prana will help you to remain active or stay focused on something for a long period of time. And then we have, yeah, and then we have Krikura prana, the third minor prana, Krikura. And this is responsible for yawning, hunger, and thirst. So basically, if you are if this Krikura prana is in a balanced condition, your ability to fast for a long period of time or to handle or manage that hunger and thirst you'll get certain amount of mastery if you can get mastery over Kurukura.
Wow.
And the fourth prana is called Devadatta prana, which is another important reflex in the body, sneezing reflex. So
Mm.
sneezing reflex is one of the protective mechanisms that is given by the nature, and this Devadatta takes care of this sneezing reflex inside the body. And the last minor prana is called Dhananjaya prana, and this prana is said to be the last prana that leaves the body. So it is said that according to Vedas and Upanishads, when the consciousness leaves the body, or the Anandamaya Kosha leaves the body, when a person is dead, then the person is dead. And then prana will also start slowly exiting from his person's body. And it is said that out of all the pranas, Dhananjay prana will stay inside the body for some period of time. For few hours, it is said that this Dhananjay prana is still active within the dead body. And
Wow.
it is said that this Dhananjay body is the last prana to leave the body. Once the Dhananjay prana leaves the body, then the decay and decomposition of the body will start happening gradually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So these are the five. In fact, there are other systems of yoga, other ancient Indian traditions. We do believe that I could not really recollect or connect you to the exact source of it, but in India, we generally believe that this prana will keep exiting from a person's body even after 13 days, even though the person physically dies. So it
Wow.
usually takes 13 days for the prana to exit from the body, and that's why in India we do death rituals for a person for like 11 to 13 days, so that the entire rituals will allow to lead to facilitate that exit of prana from the body.
So they can fully release
Yes, that release is fully happened.
the extended shavasana.
Exactly, permanent shavasana. Right. So these are the five major and minor pranas, and the entire purpose of doing pranayama practice is to keep these pranas in a balanced condition. Because if any of the prana is overly functioning, that is also dangerous, not good for the body. If any of the prana is under functioning, that is, for example, we can take this samana, which is the digestive fire. If the
Yes.
digestive fire is too much, you know, it creates a lot of metabolic activity in the body, which we cannot bear. And if it is slowed down, it creates a lot of slowdown of your metabolism inside the system. So
Sure.
each and every prana should be in a state of balance, neither high nor low. In order to keep it in that state of balance, we practice pranayama, basically to handle all these vayus. And not only pranayama, even asana practice that we do, meditation practices that we do, everything will have its influence on these pranas. Will
Mm.
help you in some or the other way to keep these pranas in a balanced condition. It's not only pranayama, but pranayama do play a direct impact on these pranas. But rest of the practices that we have in yoga, whether you do any relaxation practice or meditation practice, or asana practice, each of them will have their own impact, but indirectly on these pancha pranas. Because I
Right.
told you all these koshas are constantly interacting with each other.
Sure.
So you do something blissful at Manomai Kosha, you give some kind of bliss to Manomai Kosha, these pranas would immediately settle down and go back to that balance. When you do something chaotic at Manomai Kosha, these pranas, be it five major pranas or minor pranas, would get immediately disturbed. Now, once these pranas are disturbed, their immediate manifestation is shown in the physical body, will
Right.
have one or the other manifestations in the physical body. In yoga therapy, we say that long-term exposure of these disturbances to Manomaya Kosha will disturb all these pranas in the Pranamaya Kosha, which is the second body. And the long-term disturbance in these pranas or the life force at the second body will lead to manifestation of disease in the physical body. So
Yes.
whatever we see diseases like, you know, diabetes or cancer, heart problems, migraine, back pain, neck pain. So in yoga therapy, we say that all of these are result of disturbances that we carry in Manomaya Kosha, which further disturbed your pranas and nadis, and then further disturbed your physical body. So what you see in physical body is merely a symptom of what you have in Manomaya Kosha, the root cause.
Yeah, I love that connection because, yeah, again, with what I've studied and learned, and, if you listen to any of the majorly known gurus, whether, they're Indian or not from anywhere in the world, they say, please, work on stilling your mind because um, then you can tap into subtle energies and your body can start to process and purge. Now, I think I've mentioned to you that I do Vipassana retreats. Yeah, I try to do one a year. I haven't done a 10-day in a while. I'm going for my 10-day in January. It's been a few years since I've done that, but it's very interesting to me because you're not speaking, right? You're not interacting with everyone and you're meditating like 10, 11 hours a day. And what I found was interesting is I'm breathing and I'm meditating and I'm doing the Vipassana method. And what would happen is in the stillness is suddenly different parts of my body would like start to quiver and spasm. And then it seemed like seemingly out of nowhere, just this big like uprising of something to purge. And so it's I think one of the things that you had mentioned in class to still the Manomaya kosha was meditation.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So meditation, yes, is one of the very important techniques that we use in yoga therapy. If not in yoga therapy, generally in yoga also. To handle this manomai kosha, this meditation practice is very important. So what the meditation really does is, so the problem as we discussed in manomai kosha is that chaos.
Yes.
So in fact, there is another Sanskrit text called Yoga Vasista, which is another ancient yogic scripture. So this text, Yoga Vasista, speaks elaborately on how the disease manifests in the physical body. So it says that all the stress that we experience in our day-to-day life will increase the speed of manomai kosha or the mind. And he uses a specific Sanskrit word to explain this, which is called as Vega. Vega
Ah,
is a Sanskrit word.
yeah.
Yeah, Vega is the Sanskrit word which is used to describe this uncontrollable speed of mind, or the turbulence of mind, the chaoticness of the mind. So now, in order to handle this turbulence of mind, in order to handle this randomness of mind or the chaos of mind, in simple words, slow down the mind or calm down the mind, meditation is required. So,
Mm.
which means when you are chaotic, your mind keeps thinking restlessly in multiple directions about multiple things. Now, what you're doing with dharana, dhyana practices or pratyahara, starting from pratyahara, which is the fifth stage of Ashtanga Yoga, which is withdrawal of senses.
Mm.
What you're basically doing is the mind with whatever is going in randomly in multiple directions and it's creating a lot of chaos. You're basically bringing the entire chaotic, restless mind into a state of oneness, centeredness. You're
Yes.
bringing it into a state of focus gradually with dharana practice. Now we are telling mind, okay, now you're so tired exploring various things or thinking about various things. Now focus on this one particular thing. So slow down yourself, calm down yourself. Now start focusing on this one particular thing.
Mm.
That's when the mind will slow down because now you're not giving multiple inputs. You have given only single input, single
Okay.
instruction to the mind. It
Yes.
tries to focus in that particular channelized direction.
Mm.
Now, this channelization will further go and expand on that same thought. When you're doing dharana, you're constricting on a specific thought.
Mm.
Now, when I'm moving into dhyana or meditation, what
Mm.
happens is on the same thought, there will be expansion. It is not again thinking multiple thoughts. On the same thought, there is expansion, more clarity, or basically becoming one with that specific thought. That's where the mind really goes into this state of expansion. So, meditation is nothing but a state of expansiveness. So all the problems that we have with the mind is constriction. So constriction is another word which is very often we often use in yoga therapy. So constriction is basically where there is a lot of self-centeredness that happens in your personality. This is because your mind is also constricted towards various aspects. So you only keep thinking that you are this very limited egoistic self. Now, what you're doing with meditation practice is you are slowly expanding your consciousness or expanding your mind to infinite possibilities. That's when you realize that, okay, I'm not just this constricted personality. I have something which is more blissful within me that I can tune with regularly, not just constantly deal with the problems that I have in my regular life. There is something more valuable and more meaningful and more realistic, and which adds more value to my life. So that
Yes.
is how meditation will gradually train the mind, which is restless, bringing it into a state of focus and ultimately expanding, giving that state of expansionness, which is expansion is our original state, gradually taking you towards Anandamaya Kosha again.
Yes. It's interesting how, the method of yoga and the classical system is sort of taking us from this, broad but chaotic, but into this sort of focused state. And when you come into yourself using pratyahara and dharana and dhyan, then it becomes smooth. And then it's like the real, reality is unveiled. And in Vipassana method, it's interesting because for the first 3 days, all you do is I think it's called anapana, and you're just focusing on your breath right here. And I remember the first time I did it, I was like, what are we doing? Like, why? And I about yoga and just the method, right? But I was like, why am I only focusing here? I'm like, it's like it's fighting, it's getting bored, it wants to focus on other things, and all the thoughts are coming up. But it was very interesting because to me, it felt like it drew in everything, all of my conscious awareness into one little spot, and it became like it could go deeper, like spiritual surgery, because then everything became sharp, and then I was able to like when we finally started going through the whole body, and then yeah, you're right, everything expanded, but like in this beautiful unfolding organically rather than like chaos.
Yeah, that's true. That's a wonderful way of explaining, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we have to kind of use our ethics, the yamas and niyamas and asana in a way to, give ourselves our own parameters following this beautiful method and, honing in everything. And it reminds me of a kurma of the tortoise, sort of like pulling in the limbs and then focusing on one thing. So I love, the more that you talk about this, it's like all the things that I have gathered throughout my spiritual journey, yogic journey, and just, studying different philosophies. It's like it all comes together to one truth. And it's just so beautiful. So now in regards to the Panchakoshas and the Vayus and things, so let's say if somebody was trying to, use some of these methods and find a correct form of like pranayama or asana, basically, because they had something like, let's say they had a hormonal imbalance. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, people would come with something like that might be a common issue. So they would use a particular like pranayam, asana, meditation technique to be able to balance this. And I guess like how would they figure out which one?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if somebody had, say, a hormonal imbalance, they don't know which hormone's off, but they know something's going on with that, with their endocrine system. So how would they figure out which like pranayama to do, which asana, which meditation technique would be right for them?
Right. So again, this particular yoga therapy practices should also be practiced under the guidance of an experienced yoga therapist.
Of
So
course.
that's where we recommend practices always on the basis of Panchakosha. So we don't deal with, of course, the hormone imbalance is manifesting in the physical body, which is the Annamaya Kosha. The hormones, the endocrine system is there in the physical body, the Annamaya Kosha. But as we have discussed already, in yoga, we believe that the problem is not only in your physical body. You have problems also in all the five koshas.
Mm.
Now, especially starting from Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha is not a problem. So now you need to work on integrating all these five koshas. So that's where in the specific uh, the Annamaya Kosha practices, the physical body practices, we have, for example, in case of people with hormonal imbalances, and if that hormonal imbalances is leading to poor metabolism, and that is leading to weight gain, and irregular menstruation, then we do recommend to give them dynamic form of yoga practices, not slow yoga practices, just to stimulate their body and stimulate their Annamaya Kosha. We give dynamic yoga exercises or practices as a part of Annamaya Kosha. And we also recommend them to do kriyas. Kriyas are the yogic cleansing techniques for the internal body. So these kriyas are the detox techniques or cleansing techniques for the internal body. We also use kriyas while handling the hormonal imbalances. So when the kriyas are regularly done, it ensures there is free flow of prana inside the body. So in order to achieve that, we do regular amount of kriyas practice, which is the cleansing techniques. And then in the physical body, we also give them a lot of Surya Namaskar practice or sun salutation practice if
Mm,
it is a condition related to poor metabolism.
sure.
And then we proceed towards the Pranamaya Kosha. In the Pranamaya Kosha, we advise them to do practices which are stimulating in nature again, Kapal Bhati, Bhastrika, these kind of pranayama, which are vitalizing pranayama. And then we also highly recommend them to practice a very important pranayama, which is called Vibhagiya pranayama. In English, we call it sectional breathing. So
Ah,
basically, breathing from your abdomen, breathing from your chest, breathing using your clavicular bones, and then you do full yogic breathing.
mm,
So this is considered as uh, a slow and deep breath, basically. So to induce that slowness in the breathing and to increase the depth of the breathing inside the body, we recommend them to do this practice on a regular basis. And next important recommendation is, since it is related to balance, so we recommend them to practice Nadi Shodhan Pranayam.
mm,
Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, which is for 27 rounds, which is nine rounds in the morning, 9 rounds in the noon, 9 rounds in the evening. And it is said that this balance between the right nostril and left nostril, which is the moon and sun in nature, Ida Pingala, we call in Sanskrit.
yeah.
And not only Ida Pingala, once this Ida Pingala is in balance, your nervous system is in balance. If your nervous system is in autonomic nervous system is in balance, if your autonomic nervous system is in balance, it is immediately connected to your endocrine system. So your endocrine system will also come back to that state of balance. So we recommend them to also practice this uh, Nadi Shuddhi Pranayam. And then we move on towards the meditation or relaxation practices. So, yoga, according to Bhagavad Gita, is Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. In Bhagavad Gita, we say Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, which is yoga is balance in action or equanimity in action.
Mm,
So that balance, if you can create at your Manomaya Kosha, balance will automatically manifest in the physical body.
mm.
So that is what we say in yoga therapy. So now we try to work on that samatvam aspect through meditation practices, through various relaxation techniques, and also yoga nidra we use a lot. And at Vijnanamaya Kosha, the fourth kosha, we also use techniques like yogic counseling, so that if they have any wrong notions towards various aspects of their life, yoga counseling is a kind of counseling session between therapist and the participant, where the counseling is basically done using the philosophy of yoga and its applications in practical life.
I think that's what I do. I think like well, I really do. I mean I coach people. I've been doing it for almost 10 years. And I remember you said that in class because I come from I don't know in depth as much as I would like, but I've been studying it like with rigor for quite a few years. But I'm pretty sure but it's cool to hear you say that there's different aspects that are addressed. It's so common in, Western medicine is great for so many reasons, right? But I think that having an approach for people, again, working underneath a qualified yoga therapist, a practitioner, um, being able to address the different subtleties within the body using different techniques that are all under the umbrella of these ancient yoga practices that have been talked about and written about in so many different scripture. It's just beautiful to have a sort of a form of almost like medical healing that and it's all about trusting in the body to be able to balance itself, but giving it practices. And, I'm sure like, there's a yogic diet. I remember when I was in Mysore and, Lakshmi was feeding us like yogic diet. And remember, we went out to that Punjabi restaurant, and I'd
Right.
never felt so clearly the effect of food, a Rajasic food. I was just like, I want to dance. Everyone was like wanting to dance. You're like, there's no dancing here. What are you doing?
And just right away.
Yes, it was
It's just right away.
so clear. So yeah, it's I think practices like this probably give people hope because just here there's so many people that are sick, and it's like the doctor goes and like, oh well, your blood test is fine. Oh well, and as a body worker for so long, people would come to me and the doctors would be like, I don't know, it's arthritis, maybe there's nothing you can do. I'm like, no, there's so much you can do. You can do this asana, like you can do this meditation, you can move your body in this way, try eating different foods. It's just I love anything that trusts and helps to support the different aspects of the body and the subtle energy systems, basically, like unclogging, opening up, I guess, getting rid of the granthis to be able to bring the body back into balance.
Exactly, exactly. That's 100% true. And as you mentioned, modern science is definitely good for many reasons. There is no question or debate or discussion about that. That is wonderful. But this would add more completeness to whatever the treatment procedures that the
Yes.
people have been taking. So this approach of yoga therapy, which we have, is 100% holistic in nature. So
Yes.
this holisticity would really bring that completeness, whatever and these practices are not, these practices won't contradict any other form of medicines. You can keep on taking whatever the treatment procedures that you are adopting. At the same time, also do these deep healing mechanism, not only at your physical body, but in the level of prana, mind, vijnana, the intellect, and at the
Mm,
level of bliss. That is where you bring that deep healing impact into your system. Deep healing would only happen when you touch Anandamaya Kosha,
mm,
either with meditation or pranayama or asana. You touch that Anandamaya Kosha. You stay in that blissfulness. You stay in that silence. You observe that silence within yourself. Whether you attend a counseling session, or we also recommend a lot of karma yoga as part of yoga therapy. So whatever you do, go into that state of silence again and again. Dwell into that silence again and again. Once you touch that silence, that would give tremendous healing power, because that is our true nature. When you touch that your own true nature, the
mm,
amount of healing power that is generated in the body is just amazing, just amazing.
mm,
That's why in Ayurveda we have a specific word to define health, which is called swasthya. Swasthya is the Sanskrit word, or swasthya we call it. This is a Sanskrit word which is used to describe health, which literally means swa is self, asti is being in self. So
mm.
being in yourself is true health. That is what stay and touch Anandamaya Kosha at least 5 minutes in your every day, 10 minutes every day, 15 minutes every day. Stay there, have that blissful experience. Realize that you are something beyond all these things. Then that itself is health.
Yes. Yeah. And it's in, what I've learned, and that, one of the reasons why I own a yoga studio, because, oh, it's a lot of work, but it's because it allows me to bring together a community of people that, are interested in doing that inner work to work on themselves. And, I know that you experience this as a teacher, but it's so wonderful to have people, they come to the mat, they come to discussions, and you can tell that maybe they have some things going on in their mind and in their body, and then they sit and they breathe and they let go, and all of a sudden that sort of tejas comes out and you see that illumination, and it's just like, oh, it's like we're doing this together. It's so beautiful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, Dinesh, it has been wonderful interviewing you and having you share some of your knowledge with us. I'm sure that everyone listening is probably just as excited as I was. And I am so excited to have you teaching for us in Mysore come June of next year. That is awesome, and I'm honored.
Yeah, it's my honor and pleasure, Thrive, to be with you here today. For all the listeners, namaste. Thank you for your patient listening. And I really look forward to see you here in Mysore with all your students.
Thank you. Me too. All right. Thank you, Dinesh. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar, and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. Scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.